Dr. Jazz.
Hey guys,
Dr.
Samo here.
Jazz.
Thanks for checking out the channel and its contents. And if you feel like it, please do subscribe. Thanks so much. Enjoy the video. Bye. Thanks for finding the time. We did it.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Sorry we had to reschedule, but I appreciate the flexibility.
Oh, of course.
Um,
I can
I'm in the
imagine.
middle of a recording session right now. Also, I'm doing a record with a trumpet player named Brad Good,
Oh yeah, sure.
and Brad's out of Chicago and teaches in Colorado now, and so we're doing a project, and so I got him here, and I've also got some repairmen from Yamaha who are here doing some work on my horns. And so, yeah, it's kind of a perfect time to take a little break.
Busy man. Really.
Yeah, a lot going on, a lot going on.
That's good. Fingers
And
crossed, right? In these times that
right, right.
it's
Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, considering
yeah,
everything, but
there is,
but
there is. And where are you living?
I'm in Slovenia, Maribor.
In Slovenia. Okay,
I don't think
okay.
you, maybe with Bela Fleck if you played here, but
Yeah, if we did, it would have been like late '90s,
yes, you
early
played in Maribor
2000s.
actually in 98, 98. Is that possible?
That sounds right. Yeah, I think that was the gig. We
No,
got there.
2000, 2000.
It was 2000. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Because I remember we got there. They lost one of my horns, but thankfully we had a day off, so it reached me, which was good. I was very happy about that.
Yeah. It's the outdoor festival here in Maribor by the river.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was, I still have a bootleg of that gig actually.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We
It's
just
brilliant band. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's really fun band. We just played again for the first time in 15 years together
oh wow.
in November and December.
Well, with Howard as well, or just you guys?
Howard was supposed to join us, but Howard got sick the week before and had to bug out.
Ah,
And
okay.
thankfully he's fine. But so it was just the four of us, and Sierra Hull joined us on mandolin for about half of it.
Beautiful.
Um, but it was great, man. Just revisiting that and being with them, it just
Yep.
felt like being home.
Oh man.
It was really really fun.
I mean, you spent like what, 14 years with the Flecktones, right? I
Yeah, 14 years.
mean, I want to go there later just to ask you some things, but yeah, it was
Sure.
such a nice period. If you see the what the Flecktones did, the beginning phase, and then with you, and then again Howard is
Hmm.
it's so diverse, but it's always you hear like two bars, and it's like, yep,
Right. Yeah, you hear the band. I mean,
you hear the
it's like
band.
that with Dave
Yeah.
Matthews also. As soon as we start playing, that's the sound.
Yep.
And it's interesting, man. I've thought a lot about that over the years. How it, like, if it's going to work, it's going to work in the first moment. It's not like you graduate into a sound. It happens.
Yep.
I bet Weather Report was like that also. I bet Miles's group with when
Yep.
Wayne joined, it was like it was on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to explain, but it happens like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the nucleus
Very
of the
interesting.
group always stays the same. When you join the Flecktones, basically
Right,
Dave Matthews also the bass was there, so you just kind of like you're like the cherry on the top of a cake, and it's like
right,
yes,
right. Yeah, and I remember there's a quote from Miles that basically he said, if you want to change the sound of a band, you change the drums,
yes, which is
which
so
makes
true.
perfect sense. And both of those bands have had the same drummer for the entire time,
Yeah,
and that's the sound, man.
exactly,
That's the sound.
exactly.
I've got a trio with Jordan Perlson and Victor Krause,
Seriously.
and yeah, we're working on the second record. Well, it's
Oof.
basically done. We have to get it mixed, and we want to shop it to a couple labels. I've got my own label also, but we agree that like we want to shop this because we have a lot of diverse folks on it. We got Bela and Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, Alex
Beautiful.
Acuna, Leo Genovese, Daryl Grant, Mike Stern, um, so we're gonna try to push it hard, and if not, I'll release it. It's fine. But um, anyways, when we got together during the pandemic, um, it was like that. We were like, oh, what is this? You know, and it was just to get together and play, and we were sort
Yeah.
of like, whoa, this is something like what we're talking about, you know. And it happened the very first time. We were all like, we need to play some more.
That's nice, right? When that happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, I love those guys. Victor is so good, and Jordan is so underrated, man. He's such a great player.
Oh, he's unbelievable, man. I
Such a good
love him.
player.
I
Yeah,
love working with him. And
beautiful.
yeah, he's one of my favorite people in the world also. And so yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
But Jeff, I wanna ask you about the Way Up, and which is kind of the
yeah,
last one that's out there. And I listened today to Bloom as well, which I have. And it's kind of like this continuation of Bloom and the Mutat thing. Lots of New Orleans grooves.
yeah,
The melodies are singable. I mean,
yeah.
what's your
Mhm.
process when making a record like that? I mean, how do you write the music? How do you make the arrangements?
Yeah, it varies, but a lot of times I'm demoing stuff out in my studio. I've got a loft studio, and I made the bathroom into an ISO booth. It's still a bathroom, but it's also an ISO booth. I guess either way, it's an ISO booth, isn't it?
I should do that. I'll ask my wife what she thinks about it.
I put a piece of plexiglass, and I just cover it. So there's privacy, and if we need to look in, we can look in. Um, uh, but yeah, so my process of writing, I basically try to demo things out. Like on the New Orleans stuff. Um, I would make demos of things and then play them for everybody. So Ray Mason, who I co-lead the Wild Iris
Yeah.
Brass Band with, and the Wild Iris, by the way, is the state flower of Tennessee. That's why
Mm,
it's called that.
I didn't know that.
And
Okay.
it's the iris, but I'm kind of like like the wild Chapatulas and that kind of thing. I'm like, well, yeah, we can be the Wild Iris, and um, so Ray used to live like literally 96 paces this way when he first moved to town, and we didn't know it. I had met him one other time through my friend Dave Pietro up in New York,
Sure. Lovely.
and so when Ray moved down here, my wife and I were going to the farmer's market one day, and we saw each other walking in the street, just a little neighborhood on the west side of Nashville, and we were like, "What? Wait, what?" And he's like, "Oh man," he says, "we live right here." And I was like, "Yeah," I said, "Man," I said, "I live right there." We were like, "Oh my
That's
God,
lovely.
what are the odds of this, right?" So all through the pandemic and all this, like we were hanging out. He'd just walk over with his trombone. Wouldn't even have it in the case. And
That's beautiful.
we had played for a friend's 50th birthday, um, because he was always like, "Man, I want to be in New Orleans for my 50th, sipping on a coffee, listening to a brass band." And of course, it was the pandemic, and he's like, "But man," he says, "it's not going to happen." And I was thought, "Oh yes, it is." So we all convened outside of his place, and I called him because we were going to get together for breakfast that morning, and I called him and I said, "Hey man," I said, "we're here, like, can you come help Leoko and I with a couple of things in the car?" He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'll come right out." And so we come marching down the street playing,
Beautiful.
and he was like, "Oh my God," you know.
That's a cool one.
And so we played for, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes. And I told Ray, I said, "Man," I said, "we got to do this." We were just playing trad stuff. And so, I had started to write some things and just trying stuff, just starting grooves and writing over bass lines that I would put in through my Nord keyboard. And
Mm,
so I demo out a lot of things now just to hear how it's going to sound. And I do it to a grid so I can move
yep.
things around. I can kind of piece it together. And I love the process of it. And I love the process of it. And when I'm done, I'll listen to it in the car or when I'm taking a walk because I find I can be really objective
Yeah.
about it. And I have a hard time being objective up in the studio.
Yes.
And the studio is here.
Oh,
It's
I
it's
love it.
above the garage.
It's
and
fantastic.
and it's separate from the house, which is great for my wife.
Yes. We have the
And
same thing, man. So
yeah,
yeah.
um, um, And so as you know, you're talking about singable melodies, and I really appreciate that, man, because I'm really into melody.
Yeah.
I love melody. I also love playing free, right? But all my favorite free
Yeah.
players played great melodies.
I mean, you
You know,
listen to
Eiler was a
Ornette,
great free
Albert
player, right?
Eiler.
Ornette.
Yeah.
Right, right. And I love that. You know, the first Eiler record I heard was called Going Home, which is on
Yes.
Black Lion. And it's all spirituals, you know, and I had heard about Eiler being like super avant-garde and all, and I listened to that record. I was like, man, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life.
True.
And just so expressive in that wide vibrato he was using, and that searing, piercing tone that just reaches into your body and rips you apart, you know. And and then I discovered his, you know, his more out stuff also with Milford and those guys, and um, but you know, I love that also. You know, I love those melodies that he would write,
Yeah.
and Ornette too, and so yeah, I'm really into melody. I really want to find earworms,
Yep.
you know, stuff that is going to stick with you, that you sing absent-mindedly and you've only heard the tune once.
Yeah.
Um, and so you mentioned Bloom also. That was my third, well, my fourth record
I
actually.
love that record, man.
My but thank you, but my third on Compass Records, and I had wanted to make that record second. I was ready for it,
Mm.
but I felt like it was such a departure from Commonality, which
Commonality
is
is
a very
also
acoustic
love it.
trio thing. Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, and but I felt like it was too much of a departure too quickly, so I did go round in the middle of
Yeah.
those, and um, but on Bloom, I was like, this is the direction I want to go, and I had the kids choir on there also, and
Yeah.
some different New Orleans stuff, but you know, kind of open and far-reaching, um, and you know, that was the point for me. That was the point of departure.
Better do your thing, right?
From, yeah, right. Better do
Like you
your
said
thing,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Johnny Neal and all those guys, and I had kind of discovered New Orleans music at that time, and you know, I wanted to immerse myself in some of that as well. I wanted to start wearing some of those clothes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, where does the New Orleans thing come for you actually? I mean, obviously, you know, I know the meters and I know a little bit of the jazz and the
Yeah. Well, whenever I used to go there, and it would always be a really quick trip with the Flecktones, but there was a record store called the Louisiana Music Factory, and it's right down there on Frenchman Street, just a couple blocks down, a block and a half from like Snug Harbor and DBA and all those. And so I would go in there, and I wouldn't have much time, right? And I would go in, and I'd look around a little bit. I say, okay, you guys, I need 2 records that I can't leave here without, right?
beautiful. Yeah.
Every time I would go, and they never steered me wrong. I went like 3 or 4 times, and I was always like, oh my God, shit's amazing. So one time they gave me a record called Straight from the Sixth Ward. It's a compilation. It's got Rebirth and Dirty Dozen and a few other
Okay.
brass bands. And I lost my mind, dude. You know, and I was like, what in the world? And so when I joined Dave Matthews, we recorded down there in '09. So we spent a couple of months there, and I was out every night. And then there was a friend of mine who had come to Nashville during Katrina, right, during the aftermath of Katrina. And so we got to know each other. We recorded a little bit, and he said, "Hey, bro," he says, "when you get down here, let me know." He says, I'm part of this group called the Yellow Pocahontas." He was one of the big chiefs of the Yellow Pocahontas Mardi Gras Indian bands. He says, "I want to show you a part of New Orleans that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world."
Mm.
So I got with him and went to one of their rehearsals, and it was on the upstairs of this bar. There were like 3 people in this bar in the 6th Ward, and there were probably 50 to 70 people, and it was tambourine and vocal. That's all.
Wow.
And I had my camera. I said, "Are you cool if I take some photos?" He says, "Yeah, just no flash." I said, "Well, I don't own one, so okay, great." And I had just gotten my first digital SLR because I'm really into photography also.
Not really. Oh.
And so that was life changing. I mean, I was like, what in God's name is this, right? And the tunes were like 40 minutes long, man. They were dancing and singing and playing tambourine, and it was all just pulse. It wasn't like it was even a time signature. It was all just pulse and very African. It was the most African of all the Mardi Gras Indian groups. And he beads, you know, he has these ornate suits that weigh like 150 pounds, and it's just unbelievable. And his name is Shaka Zulu,
Oh,
and his wife's name is Naima. And you just sent me a thing. I should send you a couple of links, but it's truly
I'll
unbelievable.
try to check it out.
So I started getting into all of this kind of stuff, and then of course, you know, with the brass band stuff, and just just the feel of it and how
Yeah.
infectious it was. And it was music that was alive, is still alive. um, and that's the thing about a lot of jazz, quote unquote jazz, to me, which is jazz is a big umbrella over a lot of kinds of music. That a lot of it doesn't feel alive to me. A lot of
Exactly.
it feels like an exercise
Exactly.
in academia. Um, there's a quote. I got to find this. I got to read this to you because this is something that I have felt for a very, very long time, and someone put it into words, and it really reflects, I guess you could say, my philosophy. Um, okay, here it is. It says, in itself, the term modernism implies. Whoops. Come on. These are supposed to make our lives easier. In itself, the term modernism implies neither praise nor blame and involves no obligation whatsoever. That is precisely its weakness. The word eludes us, hiding under any application of it one wishes to make. True, it is said that one must live in one's own time. The advice is superfluous. How could one do otherwise? Even if I wanted to relive the past, the most energetic strivings of my misguided will would be futile.
Yeah.
The term modernism is all the more offensive in that it is usually coupled with another whose meaning is perfectly clear. I speak of academicism. A work is called academic when it is composed strictly according to the precepts of the conservatory. It follows that academicism, considered as a scholastic exercise based on imitation, is in itself something very useful and even indispensable to beginners who train themselves by studying models. It likewise follows that academicism should find no place outside of the conservatory. Oops. Should find no place outside of the conservatory. This phone is driving me crazy. That academicism should find no place outside of the conservatory, and that those who make an ideal of academicism, when they have already completed their studies, produce stiffly correct works that are bloodless and dry.
Yeah.
Ask me who wrote it.
Oof. Go for
This
it.
came from the pen of Igor Stravinsky.
Wow. Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a book
Wow.
called, let's see, what is the book called? Poetics of Music in the Form of 6 Lessons.
Wow. Write it down. Sounds cool.
Poetics of Music in the Form of 6 Lessons. And I was like, well, there it is.
Yeah. It's a thin line, right?
So when I heard the music of New Orleans and I heard it live, I heard it in all these different iterations, right? Because I mean, here's the thing, man, it can be super modern also. Like Branford is back down there
Yeah.
and playing his ass off, and playing really modern music that's steeped in the New Orleans tradition, and it feels alive. That's why people love him so much, is that his music feels like it's alive, and it is.
Yeah.
Charlie Gabriel, who's now 94 years old, we're sitting on the back porch of the Preservation Hall house where I stay down there, and it's him, me, Branford, a few other cats having a jam, like playing traditional New Orleans music, like playing Alan Toussaint and Professor Longhair, and my mind is just going like, you know, because it's the lineage. It's so alive.
Yes.
And Charlie at 94 years old is playing like a 25-year-old, man. Beautiful, gorgeous melodies. The feel. He's singing. You know, he's interacting with people. It's a music that is dance music.
It's for the
And
people
I
also.
my belief, and this is where Bloom came about, and also Go Around, and also stuff on commonality, is that all music should be dance music.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you know you're going to have to like dance in four or what, you know. It's not like there's particular, but it should move you, in my opinion. It should move the player and the listener in a way that there's movement within there, right? It's like a universal dance.
Yeah.
And and there's a connection in dance. There's a connection in that movement, in that swirl. And you know, it's like, for example, when people they'll write a tune or like a big band tune and be like, oh, it's a Latin tune, and I'm like,
That's
right? Because because that's a whole culture of music,
very wide.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the depth of the Latin culture is profound, man. So it's not like, you know, it's like not just,
But that's the
playing the
general perception.
That's the general perception, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same with jazz. Is the general perception is like ding 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 ding. It's like,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
it's like 120 years of improvisational music of every style in every culture that's available.
Yeah.
You know, deep from the black church. Obviously, the origins are Black American music, no question. You know, and its evolution from that has been like a snowball going down a hill, and it's like taking everything in its path. And that to me is the beauty of it, is just the worldwide influence now of Black American music in so many different iterations, and you know, but to me it has to be alive. It has to still have that thing to it, you know.
Yeah.
And so you ask about New Orleans. That to me that's it, you know. And the Jazz Education Network Conference now is in New Orleans every 2 years, and now in 2030 it's going to be there every year. And when the students go there, like, they get a dose of this.
That's so
There were over
important.
5,000. There were almost 5,000 people there this year because it was in New Orleans. You know, who wants to go to Reno to learn about jazz? Not me. You know, it's like that's where it needs to be. That's the birthplace, man. That's where you get all the grease.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where these students come away dancing and being like, "Oh my God, man! Like, this music was profound to me."
Yeah.
And so it was an epiphany to me when I experienced that music, and you know, trying to capture the spirit of that music in what I do, and you know, I look at it as like music of necessity.
Mm.
Now, these field recordings that exist, the Lomax stuff,
Oh yeah. Of course.
and even like Bartok and Kodai and
Yep.
Smithsonian recordings, all this, you know, it's like, I don't know. To me, it's music that has to happen, and that's what I want it to be. I'm not writing just to write a bunch of material. You know, I write because the muse gently grabs me by the throat and says, "You will write," and I say, "Okay, I'll write." And
It's a nice thing. Yeah.
yeah, and it usually happens when I've been home for about a week. The waters have started to calm, and that's when it happens, and it just hits me, you know, and I have to go and do the work, and
Yeah.
and I love it, and I'm grateful for it, and you know, sometimes, you know, you asked about my process also, and sometimes stuff will happen, and I'll come back and I'll be like, I don't even know where this tune came from, right? It kind of comes out, and I go back and I'm like, wow, how did that come about?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's elusive like that sometimes, and again, I'm very grateful. I remember years ago I played the first time I played the Montreux Festival was with a big band out of Dallas, the Dallas Jazz Orchestra, and it was I don't know, late '80s, I guess. and we were going to be backing up Georgie Fame and Van Morrison. And I remember I was talking to Van Morrison a little bit about composition because I knew he was prolific, is prolific.
Yes, yeah.
And I said, I've just kind of started writing, wondering if you have like any thoughts, any tips, any, anything at all. I was, this naive college kid asking Van Morrison about composition, and I'll never forget him. And he kind of goes like this. He said, I'm just a conduit. He said, it comes through me. He says, and I don't know anything about it.
Interesting.
He says, but I stay open to it. And he says, I allow it to come through me. He says, I'm just a conduit. He says, that's really all I can tell you. And I was like, wow, okay, that's some deeply spiritual shit, And so I understand. I try to get out of the way. I try to ask the song what it wants. And I'm getting to a point where I feel like move myself into a sunbeam here, and I feel like I'm getting to a point where the melodies that I'm writing and that I'm playing, because a lot of times they come out of improvisations, that the melodies are becoming more compositional as I get deeper into I guess just deeper into my life.
And the process of composing and more experienced and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, kind of the first stuff when I'm improvising, the shape, the timbre, the kind of the line itself is something that I'll use a lot of times, and I'll kind of shape a tune off of that, because I believe that the initial sort of unconscious that's coming out is kind of that. I think that's why Hermeto was so amazing, is that he was able to tap into that kind of unconscious place and write spontaneously. And I'm just like, what in the world, man? They're like genius of geniuses.
Yeah. It's funny if you listen back that sometimes these melodies are just, when you're in a creative phase, it just keeps coming. I'm the same. When I know I'm going to do something, it's just like a tune after it's like,
right.
And then it's gone, for me at least. Then for a certain time, it's just like, okay.
Right. Yeah, I don't write every day.
No.
But when I do, I usually come up with, 5 or 6 tunes at a time.
Exactly.
And sometimes I'm kind of writing, excuse me, sometimes I'm kind of writing the same tune twice. Like it's an idea, and I'm kind of like, and one will kind of win out over the other one. But as I tell my students, I said, I've written a lot of really terrible shit. Lots and lots of really awful stuff that's in notebooks that will never see the light of day. But it's a stepping stone into something else.
Exactly. Yeah. You should not hold on to everything you write, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. You should just
but again, it's all important. It's all important to work out these ideas. It's like when students play a lot, like they'll play too much. I think that's good, right? We can talk to them about it. But I'm like, man, work all that out. But do it in a way that you're distilling down ideas. Don't do it thinking that's the be all end all, because Coltrane played a lot of notes. Because even he was saying, there's quotes in his books, in his interviews, that he's like, well, I'm trying this sheets of sound thing, and if it doesn't work soon, I'm going to have to abandon it.
Yeah.
Because he realized, like, it's not really working sometimes. But what he was trying to do is distill stuff down to get to what he was hearing. That was his process.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be everybody's process. Everybody's process is different, and it's continual. It's not like it ever stops.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in process as much today as I was 30, 40 years ago in college. I guess 40 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Man.
I love it. I love the process of it. I love the creativeness of it. And another thing I always tell my students too is find creative ways of being creative.
Yeah.
And so keeping them open, keeping them. We were talking the other day. I said, man, be like wet clay, because wet clay you can mold into anything. Once it dries, it's done. You know.
Yeah.
So be like wet clay.
It's a nice one. You're the master of that, man. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Dave Matthews fan. I've been to so many gigs in Europe when you guys come to Europe, actually. So, which will be my question: when do you come to Europe later again? But
yeah, I don't know. Nothing on the books right now, but hopefully next year.
I check like every 2 months, like tour schedule. They're going to the States again. Fuck that. It's good for the States, but with Bela, then you have this other side of you, which is like, it's again still so melodic, yet at the same time technical. I remember I did a couple of touring with Paul McCandless, who played with Bela as well, and the Flecktones.
Yeah.
And he said like, they played, and then Bela played a solo, and it was just like, and then Wooten played a solo, and everyone was like, and Paul, who's like a virtuoso, he told me like, he was like, oh shit, now I'm supposed to do a solo after all this, nah? And this is what I wanted to ask you, like, how did you, with Bela Fleck and the Flecktones, you still maintained that idea of melody through your soloing all the time? It was like, it always made sense because each one of you had individual voices. And how did you adapt when you entered that group? Because Left of Cool, there's some amazing music, from Throwdown to Big Country to all those great tunes, and you blend perfectly in. How did that happen?
I don't know, quite honestly.
Good answer.
I mean, there's so much involved in that question.
Yeah,
Which
absolutely.
kind of goes back to, Bela and I meeting.
Yeah, how did that happen? How did you enter the band, actually? I mean, that's my first question then.
So I used to run a jam session here in town. So I moved here in 1991, and there was really no place to play. So I started a jam. I ran for about 9 years. And there was a drummer named Tom Pollard who came through one time, who, unbeknownst to me, knew Bela. And he left him a message, said, hey, there's a horn player here in town that you probably don't know yet, but you guys should connect at some point. So I was out in Aspen, Colorado, playing with a 5-horn band out of town here, where they're playing, doing some recording. We had a night off. I was hanging with the trumpet player who was in the Mutet, Bill Fanning, who I had met on a cruise ship before I moved to Nashville. There's a whole other story. And again, this connectedness of everything, right?
Absolutely.
So I told Bill, I said, it was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, man, if we could find Vic, I bet we go to that Flecktones show tonight. Because we had the night off, right? I kid you not, man, within like 30 or 40 seconds, who's walking straight down the middle of the street at us? Victor. Right? And so I knew him from Nashville, so we chatted. He said, oh, yeah. He said, when, you guys come out. He says, the show is sold out. It was in the Opera House in Aspen. He says, but, you guys just hang in the back or whatever, And so I wasn't sure I was going to stay for the whole show. So I went down at the break, because we only had one night off. I went down at the break and said hello and thanks for the tickets. And I met Bela, and he said, well, that's weird, man. He says, I have a message to look you up when I get home. What are you doing in Aspen? Right? And so I was like, oh, I'm here playing and blah, blah, blah. And so he had met Edgar Meyer in Aspen also.
Interesting.
Right? So I think he was kind of like, is lightning going to strike twice here? Like, what's going on here? And so he said, I'm kind of in gig mode. Can you hang till after the show and let's chat? And I said, yeah, of course, man. He said, we're not leaving for a couple hours. So I hung, and we just talked about what I was doing in Nashville and my background and what music I was into and blah, blah, blah. And we just really hit it off. He said, well, man, let's get together after I get home, and, I'd love to hear you play. Let's do some playing. I said, okay, sure, So we got together and did a little playing, and they were playing at a club called Cafe Milano. This was around Christmas in 96. And he said, why don't you come down and play with us one of the nights? We have a bunch of different guests coming through. And so Stuart Duncan was supposed to play that night. His daughter got sick. She had the flu. Couldn't make it. And so Bela said, well, man, he said, why don't you just play the whole night with us? And I said, well, I don't know any of your tunes, you know. And he said, oh, that's cool. He says, you know, we'll do like Royal Garden Blues and a couple of Christmas tunes. And I remember I wrote Sunset Road on a napkin and taped it to my stand. And he said, we'll do that Ornette tune, Ramblin' also, and a couple other things, you know. And so we had a great time and got into some cool shit with Roy on drums and kind of some Elvin Train stuff. And Bela paid me for the gig, which I didn't expect. He paid me like $300. I was like, what?
Wow.
It's like a month's rent for me. And so a couple of days later, he called. He said, hey, man, he says, you know, do you want to do a couple of dates with us?
Wow.
And I said, yeah, sure, man. And so it was something in Vermont, maybe Burlington. And then there were like 3 nights of the Knitting Factory in New York, when the Knitting Factory was like Mecca, right?
Yep.
And I was terrified because all the music I was listening to, Thomas Chapin, Frizzell, Zorn, all this stuff was happening at the Knitting Factory. I was like, oh my God. And so the first gig, so we had like a very short couple of rehearsals, like an hour each rehearsal. And I couldn't have been more lost. And Paul had written out some charts and there were some other things they had. So I'm trying to follow and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so screwed. And so on the bus, like I'm looking through the charts, talking to Bela about the tunes. And I said, man, how am I going to know when to solo? And he says, just watch me, I'll nod to you. And I'm like, oh my God, my career is over. Right, so we do the gig. And I'm talking to him after the gig, and I said, hey, man, I just want to thank you so much, you know, for this opportunity. And I said, and I'm 100% fine with going home on a bus tomorrow.
Oh.
You know, put me on a bus and send me home. He's like, what are you talking about? And I said, man, your audience knows the music so well. I said, I feel like I'm an anchor on a balloon, you know? And he said, oh, man, he says, that was great for a first gig. Are you kidding? He said, this is not an easy band to play with.
Yeah.
He says, that was great. He said, Richard he records every night. He says, go back and listen to it and go get some sleep. He said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like, oh my God. And I listened and it was okay, you know? And at the gig in New York, my Dave Pietro, who I've known since I was 16, I don't know if you know Dave, he's the head of jazz.
Sure, yeah. I did an interview with him as well, and I have
and
his
so
records.
He came to the gig. Oh, great. And so he came to that Knitting Factory gig, and we were talking afterwards, and he said, very wise words, and I'm very thankful for this. And he said, hey, man, he says, I've got some thoughts. Do you want to hear them? I said, of course. Yes, please help me. And he said, the tenor shit sounds great. He says, everything is good. He says, get your soprano sound together. Right?
Interesting.
He said, it sounds good. He says, but he says, I know that you haven't played it a lot. And he says, you're going to play it a lot in this band. And he said, like, start to get that, like, more refined. And he said, and get off the page as quickly as you can. Make yourself indispensable. He says, because your sound with this band, he says, is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know? And so I did. I memorized the music as quickly as I could. And you know, Bela was very encouraging about me bringing in my own tunes because he had heard some of my compositions. He says, I really like the way you write. He says, bring that stuff in. Let me hear stuff.
That's really nice, yeah.
And so we wrote together, and I found a cassette tape recently of some of the stuff we did on our first European tour, which was stuff we were writing for Left of Cool. Like I found, like Let Sleeping Dogs Lie. It didn't even have a name at the time. Train to Connemara, which we wrote on Coltrane's
I love that
birthday.
one, man. Yeah.
And his cousin was coming from Connemara. He was hitchhiking, which was an 8-hour drive, hitchhiking with his 2 kids to come down to Dublin to see us. So that was the impetus for the name of that tune. And so like we're working it out on the bus, and I have a cassette tape running of it, and I found it recently, digitized the whole thing,
Beautiful.
you know. And there's a bunch of other stuff on there too. And so that's kind of how it happened. And you know, I mean, he heard and saw something in me that, you know, I am forever grateful and indebted to him for.
Mm.
And that was how I met the guys in Matthew's band too, because we were doing opening dates for them, and you know, they knew that I played all the instruments. And when Roy got hurt, I got the call through the Flecktones manager, and had less than 24 hours to the next gig.
Yeah. How did then that happen? How did you then memorize the tunes? Like, or I mean, it.
Oh, I didn't at first. So
Okay.
so I got called. My girlfriend, my now wife, we had just gone to Dave Pietro's wedding actually, and we were driving to Massachusetts from there. I had my soprano because that's what I was playing at the wedding, and we were going to visit my grandmother and my mom in Massachusetts, and I got a call about halfway through the ride from the Flecktones manager, and he explained the situation. He says they're wondering if you can sub for him for a few months, and I said, well, yeah. I said I'd have to cancel a bunch of stuff, but yes. I said, when do they need me? And he said, right away. I said, what's right away? He says, the next gig's tomorrow in Charlotte. I said, oh. I said, all right, well, tell them yes. And I said, let me start making phone calls. So I had to call my stepson, who I said, hey, what are you doing tonight? And he said, nothing, just hanging out. I said, can you drive all my gear to Charlotte? And I said, I'll talk you through where it is in the house. And so he drove everything overnight to Charlotte. And I took the first plane down. My
Right.
wife stayed in Boston. She was living in Knoxville. So it's this whole convoluted thing. And it was the first time she was meeting my mom and my grandmother. And I was there for like a few hours. And I was like, I got to go. I love you. Bye. And so I talked to management. And I said, I need staff paper, like a big ream of staff paper, pencils, a pencil sharpener, a music stand, fan light, a 3-ring binder, and plastic sheets, you know. And so Rashawn and Dave came in as soon as I got there, and we started writing stuff out
Wow.
as quickly as I could write, you know, here's your part, blah, blah, blah.
Man.
And a few hours later, we're playing in front of 20,000 people. I would just watch Rashawn. He would kind of just bring me in. I wasn't even writing out forms, right? Because the forms are asymmetrical. I mean, it would have been impossible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the only way I can describe it is it was seamless, you know. And everything I knew how to do as a musician, I had to do for those gigs. And um, you know, playing 6 horns,
Yeah.
penny whistle, you know, all that's, you know, I'm like, I got it, man. I can do all this. And but to step into that situation, people are like, oh man, it must have been really hard for you, like especially when Roy died. And I was like, hard for me, man, hard for them.
Yeah.
Jesus, man, like you're all eating dinner at a table. Suddenly there's an open chair that you have to fill, you know, and you bring in somebody you sort of know. And like I play very differently than Roy, and
Yeah.
you know that he was such a big part of the sound of that ensemble, and you know, so I'm sure it was challenging for them that suddenly their brother was gone. You know, it must have been devastating,
Yeah.
just devastating.
Yeah.
And but I've been with him now for 18 years. This is the 18th year,
Man.
and which is over half the life of the band.
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
and it keeps escalating, man. It keeps getting better. And when we brought Buddy Strong in, and we can kind of go anywhere we want now musically. It's like just up and up and up,
Yeah.
and it's been a really beautiful situation.
Yeah. I love when the band goes, you know, those improv sections on some tunes. It's like
Yeah,
when the tune
yeah,
comes 20 minutes long and it's just like, yes, baby, just
right, yeah,
come on.
yeah. It just goes in deep sometimes, man. And not every tune is like that, but
Yeah.
when it does, man, it's really special.
That you're not afraid. And Dave, as a band leader, he's just like, yeah,
Yeah,
let's
he's
go
like,
there,
do your
right?
thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's the most magical thing is that there is 30,000 people watching this. You know what I mean? It's not like
Right. Yep.
200 in a bar. It's
Well, you know,
basically,
my right. It's a collective it's like collective consciousness, and it's a shared
Yeah.
experience. You know, one of my musical philosophies also is that we as musicians, we're in a service industry. That first we serve the music, second we serve the musicians we're playing with, third we serve the audience. So I'm at least fourth on the list, right? But by serving those others, I get served.
Exactly. That's nice. Yeah.
And what I want at the end of the night, what I want at the end of the night is to feel like I've been in the audience, and I want the audience to feel like they've been on stage.
Mm.
I want this reciprocal thing. So when these things occur on these gigs, I think the audience does feel that. I feel like they've had an exchange with us, you know, and I think that's why all these people continue to come to our gigs, because every gig feels different.
Yes.
There's never been the same set list twice, ever.
How do you do that? Yeah, the set list and stuff. Do you guys talk a lot or?
Dave makes up a set. He has like the set list, I think, from the previous two times we've been somewhere, and he just makes it different. And considers the art, considers, the soloists, and
Yeah.
um, and there are nights. It's funny, man. He's so conscientious about that stuff. There are nights where, like, there might be one or two sax solos. Come over to me at the end and said, "Man, I'm sorry, I didn't get to hear you enough tonight." And I'm like, "I'm good, man. Thank you, but I'm good." And I said, "I never feel that way." He says, "Yeah." He says, "But I do." He says, "I'm going to work your ass off tomorrow night." I said, "Great, bring it." And um, so he cares about that stuff, man. He really listens,
Yeah.
and it's a great group of people, and I couldn't be happier to be part of that family.
Yeah. And I love it that when you get to solo, you really can stretch out. It's really like
Yeah, I can
carte
definitely
blanche,
place
you know. I love that, man. That's
Yeah, I've never been accused of playing short solos.
oh, but it's so much. It's makes sense. It's a story. It's always
I
like,
hope so. I hope it does, man.
yeah,
I love it so much.
yeah. I hope we make it to Europe again. I think the last time I saw it was in Vienna, but shit, that was already a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was a couple years back already. Yeah.
Yeah, and but it's different vibe, I guess. When you play in the States, because you are kind of this more American vibe type of group than in
Yeah.
Europe. Europe, it's slightly different audience, right?
It is, and we really love the way the audiences in Europe listen. It's
Yeah,
a different experience. And there are times, especially around Italy and even Vienna and some other places, that the audience gets so quiet. I remember one time the audience was so quiet at the end of a tune, I had to drop down an octave into the low end of the soprano because I couldn't play any quieter, right? And I could play really quiet, but I was like, man, like this is like they were listening at such an intense level,
yeah,
and it allows us to just be so musical,
yeah,
rather than someone go, "Ah," and I get it, it's great, but shut the fuck up and let us finish, and then do that.
yeah,
And um, but everybody experiences it differently, and then you go to Portugal and everybody's like jumping, the whole place is undulating, and it's beautiful, man. It's really, really great.
amazing.
It's really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, man. Jeff, not to take too much of your time so that you can continue your tasks, but what are
Sure.
your plans for this year? Any plans of coming to Europe with whatever
Well,
project or
not right now because I teach a lot. I teach at Vanderbilt University here in
okay.
Nashville, and I've been there for 11 years. So usually during the semesters, I'm pretty tight here because I'm in 3 days a week. And oh, you seem to have frozen. You still
Ah,
there?
yeah,
You still got me?
yeah, got it.
Okay, great, great. So anyway, so I teach at Vanderbilt. I teach at Vanderbilt University here in Nashville, and so during the semesters, I'm pretty entrenched. I'm there at least 3 days a week, and my students mean a lot to me. So I'm usually writing, working on material. I also go out and do workshops and clinics around the country. I was just in Oregon and Washington for a week,
Oh wow,
and
good.
I'm leaving Thursday to go up to Indianapolis and Ball State University to do some things. So I've had a bunch of big band charts made up that I go and I do. They'll work up my charts and we'll go and do performances and this kind of thing, which is super fun. And um, and I'd love to get to Europe and do it more, but I'm so busy here doing it. Um, but I would love to do more of that. And all the info's on my website. If anybody is interested in bringing me over to Europe, all the info's on the website, and chart links to charts and the whole dealio, you know.
Yeah.
And um, so I've got a lot of projects that are coming out. You know, this year I've got three. Sorry, I'm just letting Brad back into my studio. I've got three records that are finished. The fourth one with the Coffin, Prost and Krauss project. I'm working on this one with Brad. I'm doing a record with Dave Pietro in a month
Beautiful.
down here also. Man, the rhythm section, I almost hate to say and spill the beans, but I'm going to tell you, and maybe we just cut this part or bleep this part out until it's done, but it's Keith Carlock, John Coward, and James Genus in the rhythm section. You know?
Okay.
And I'm so excited about it.
You don't have to play actually,
This-
so
I know, right? And in this one, I've got John Coward, Derek Phillips, and John Estes. And it's just, it's an embarrassment of riches, man, truly.
wow.
And the music sounds so great, and I'm so excited about it. And there's a lot of teaching. Of course, there's going to be some Matthews touring over the summer, May through September. Might be some stuff in the fall. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to do some stuff with Jordan and Vic in October. So just a lot of stuff, man. Just a
Beautiful.
lot of stuff. And I want to get back to Japan with my wife. She's from there. So just taking time to enjoy, but also taking time to create and to enjoy the time of creation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. Looking forward to all these records. Can't
Me
wait.
too. Yeah, they're all very different also,
Yeah,
and it's just these splinters of things that I'm really into, and
good that you
I'm
can do
just
it.
so
Yeah.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got to hang when I'm in Europe, or if you come to the States, we got to hang.
Oh man, we have a guest room here in our house, and
Beautiful.
whenever we feel like come here.
Yeah.
We're in a wine country if you like wine, so we can show
Oh,
you around
great.
and
I don't
everything.
drink
So.
very much, but I do like a glass of wine every now and then.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just
Thank you.
come over with your wife even, we have a 3-year-old
Yeah.
daughter and
Oh,
1-year-old
great.
son, so it's gonna be action. But if you
Beautiful.
guys feel like seeing Slovenia, just drop me a line and you can stay easily here. And
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
tonight.